The alien ruins stretched across the desert like the bones of a dead giant. Broken towers leaned against the sky. Shattered walls hummed with faint energy. And at the very heart of it stood the Guardian. The Guardian was not a statue. It was a machine, larger than mountains, forged of dark silver metal. Its eyes were hollow, its chest carved with strange symbols that glowed faintly like dying embers. For 1,358 years it had stood in silence, unmoving, untouched by time. To the alien people of this world, it was not just a relic, it was a god. They called it the Silent Watcher, the Eternal Protector. For generations, priests sang to it, scientists scanned it, rulers argued over it. But no one had ever awakened it, no hand, no mind. No technology had stirred even a finger of the Guardian until the humans arrived. The landing ship touched down with a hiss of steam. A small crew of explorers stepped onto the cracked stone. They looked at the ruins with wide eyes. Some carried scanners, others cameras. But one man walked with a different kind of confidence. His name was Daniel, a mechanic from Earth. His uniform was dirty, his gloves stained with oil. He was no scientist, no soldier, just someone who fixed broken things. The aliens gathered at a distance, their eyes wide, their mandibles clicking nervously. They had seen humans before, but never here, never at the steps of their sacred guardian. The human leader, a stern woman with short hair, spoke carefully. This site is older than our records. Approach with respect. Do not touch anything unless cleared. Daniel only grinned, his gaze fixed on the Guardian towering above them. Looks like a big machine to me, he said. Machines break. Machines can be fixed. The aliens hissed at his words. To call the Guardian a machine was almost blasphemy. But Daniel didn't notice. He had already taken a step forward. The closer he came, the more he felt an energy in the air. A low hum that rattled in his chest. The Guardian loomed above, its chest, glowing faintly like a heartbeat trapped beneath stone. Careful, one of the scientists shouted. We've studied this thing for years. Nothing works on it. Don't. But Daniel only smirked. He pulled off his gloves, cracked his knuckles, and muttered the words that would echo through history. Hold. My beer? The aliens gasped. The scientists groaned. But Daniel simply pressed his hand against the cold metal surface of the Guardian's leg. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the ground shook. The desert wind stilled. The ruins trembled. The glowing veins across the Guardian's chest flared bright. Dust poured down as the great machine groaned. For the first time in over 1,000 years, it moved. The aliens fell to their knees. Some cried out in terror, others in worship. Their voices filled the air like a storm. The silent god awakens. They shouted, the prophecy. Daniel stumbled back, eyes wide. He said, his usual confidence breaking for the first time. That's not supposed to happen. The Guardians had shifted slowly. Metal grinding like mountains moving. Its eyes, once stark, lit with burning light. It looked down at the humans and aliens below. Its gaze heavy, powerful, almost alive. The priests wailed, bowing so low their foreheads struck the stone. The scientists frantically pointed scanners. The soldiers raised weapons. In fear, and in the middle of all of it, Daniel stood frozen, his hands still buzzing from the touch, his chest racing with shock. The queen of the alien city stepped forward, her voice trembling with awe. For centuries, we prayed, we failed. But you human, you are chosen. Daniel's throat went dry. Chosen, he echoed. The Guardian's chest rumbled, a sound like thunder rolling across the world. Its giant hand twitched, cracking the stone it had rested on for over a millennium. The air grew heavy. Filled with raw power, Daniel swallowed, staring up at the towering machine. Oh no, he muttered under his breath. What did I just wake up? The Guardian's eyes blazed brighter, casting light across the ruins. The silence of 1,358 years was broken, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The ruins were no longer silent. Where once there had been stillness for centuries, now there was chaos. The Guardian's single movement had changed everything. Its glowing chest still pulsed faintly like a sleeping heart. And every alien eye in the plaza stared at it with both awe and terror. Priests cried out in worship, falling flat on the stone floor. The silent god has answered. The cycle begins again, they shouted, their voices carried across the desert, echoing through the broken towers. But others were not so quick to bow. Alien soldiers raised their weapons, their mandibles clicking with fear. Some demanded the Guardian be destroyed before it could rise again. It is a weapon. One shouted, it will burn the world if it wakes. In the middle of the shouting, Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. He had grease still smeared across his cheek, his expression more nervous than proud. Okay, so maybe I pressed the wrong button, he muttered, or the right one. Depends on how you look at it. The queen of the alien city turned sharply to him. Her golden eyes burned with suspicion and wonder. You touched it once, and it stirred, she said. We tried for lifetimes. Our greatest minds failed. Our bloodlines rose to wake it, and you did it in a single breath. Daniel lifted his hands, defensive. Hey, I didn't do anything fancy. I just touched it. Maybe it liked me. Maybe it was bored. The soldiers hissed. Their claws tightened on their weapons. One stepped forward, glaring at him. You are dangerous. Human trickery. You will bring doom. Before Daniel could reply, the Guardian let out a deep groan. The sound rumbled through the stones, shaking dust from the ruins. Everyone fell silent, hearts racing. The giant machine shifted its shoulders slightly, as though stretching after a long sleep. The priests wailed. Louder. It listens to the chosen. The queen silenced them with a sharp gesture, her gaze never leaving Daniel. If you can wake it, then you must finish it, she said firmly. No one else may try. No one else may risk it. Daniel's mouth opened, then closed again. He looked up at the towering machine, and then back at her. You want me to fix it? You will repair what time has broken, the queen said, or you will die trying. That wasn't exactly the kind of encouragement Daniel liked, but he had to admit it did sound like a challenge. The humans in the expedition argued furiously. The scientists claimed Daniel was reckless, that the Guardian should be studied slowly, step by step. The soldiers wanted to call the fleet for backup, but the aliens refused to let more humans near. The queen made it clear the mechanic alone would touch the Guardian. That night, Daniel was given a chamber inside the palace overlooking the ruins. The room was filled with alien tools he couldn't even name, glowing instruments and humming crystals. Guards stood outside the door to make sure he didn't escape. He paced the floor, running his hand through his messy hair. Great, he muttered to himself. Everyone thinks I'm some chosen savior. Meanwhile, I've got no manual, no parts, and no idea what this thing even runs on. But when he sat near the window, staring at the giant machine in the distance, he felt something strange. The Guardian wasn't just metal, it radiated presence, as if it was aware, as if it was watching him. The next day, he climbed back onto the ruins, crowds of aliens watching from a distance. Their whispers carried on the wind. Some cursed him, others prayed. He could feel their eyes burning into him. All right, big guy, Daniel muttered under his breath, patting the Guardian's cold metal like a stubborn engine. Let's see what makes you tick. As he opened panels and studied the glowing circuits, sabotage struck. A blast shook the scaffolding, nearly throwing him off. He barely caught himself, looking down to see masked figures running through the ruins. Aliens shouted. Soldiers clashed with the saboteurs. The queen herself stormed into the plaza, her crystal spear glowing. She cut through attackers with precise, deadly strikes. Her voice thundered. Protect the mechanic. Daniel, heart pounding, pressed his hands against the Guardian again. His palms burned as sparks raced up his arms. The machine let out another deep rumble, louder than before. Its eyes flickered brighter, sending beams of light across the ruins. The battle stopped. Everyone froze, staring. Daniel stumbled back, his chest heaving. Okay, he muttered. That's progress, right? The queen stared at him, her expression unreadable. Then she said, voice sharp but steady, "The guardian answers only to you. You cannot stop now. The fate of my people land may be your own rests in your hands." Daniel gulped, wiping sweat from his brow. He looked up at the massive machine, its burning eyes watching him like a living thing. For the first time, he realized this wasn't just an ancient engine waiting to be fixed. It was something far greater. And if he wasn't careful, it would either save them all or destroy everything. The desert morning was quiet, but the ruins were alive. Crowds of aliens had gathered at a distance, their eyes fixed on the massive guardian. The priests knelt in prayer. Soldiers stood with weapons ready, and nobles whispered in fear. All waited to see if the human would succeed or die. Daniel stood at the guardian's base, his hands stained with grease, sweat running down his face. He had been working since dawn, opening strange panels, adjusting glowing circuits, and muttering curses under his breath. To him, it felt like trying to repair an engine the size of a mountain. "All right, big guy," he whispered, patting the cold metal surface. "Time to show me something more than blinking lights." The queen watched from a nearby platform, her golden armor gleaming. Her gaze was sharp, but there was something else in it too: curiosity, maybe even hope. Daniel connected to thick cables together. Sparks snapped. The guardian groaned. The ground shook. Dust rained down from its massive shoulders, and then, slowly, impossibly, its hand twitched. The plaza erupted. Priests wailed in praise. Soldiers shouted warnings, and nobles backed away in terror. The queen did not move. Her golden eyes blazed as she whispered, "It lives." Daniel stumbled back, staring up at the massive hand now resting in a different position than before. "Well," he muttered, "that's one finger. Maybe I should start charging by the hour." The guardian's chest glowed brighter, pulses of light beating like a second sun. The air filled with a low vibration that made the stone beneath their feet hum. Some aliens covered their ears, others bowed lower. The scientists among the humans were frantic, shouting into recorders. It responds only to him, not the tools, not the scans him. Daniel rubbed his temples. "Yeah, thanks for noticing." But with every movement, danger grew. That night, while he worked under the stars, shadows crept through the ruins. Saboteurs again. Masked figures carrying explosives. They hurled them at the guardian's legs, shouting curses. Daniel dove for cover as blasts rocked the ground. But the guardian responded on its own. Without warning, its other hand shifted, slamming down into the earth. The shockwave knocked the saboteurs flat, scattering them like insects. The entire plaza froze. The guardian had moved not by his command, not by his repairs, but by its own will. Daniel's heart pounded. He whispered, "You protected yourself." The queen strode forward, her spear glowing. She pointed at the saboteurs, her voice sharp as thunder. "Seize them. They dare strike against the Chosen's work." The prisoners were dragged away, hissing and spitting, but no one dared argue against her. Daniel sat on the rubble, staring up at the towering machine. "You're not just metal, are you?" he muttered. "You're something else." The guardian's burning eyes flickered once, as if answering him. The next day, the queen summoned her council. Alien nobles argued furiously. "This human is a threat. If the guardian obeys him, he controls us all," shouted one. Another hissed, "Destroy him before it is too late." The queen silenced them, her voice steady. "You fear him because you cannot control him. But the guardian answers only to him. That is not weakness. That is destiny." Daniel, sitting awkwardly beside her, whispered, "You know I can hear all this, right?" She didn't answer, but the faintest curve touched her lips. Later, while alone in the guardian's chamber, Daniel pressed his hands against the glowing circuits. He closed his eyes, breathing slowly. And then, for the briefest moment, he felt it's something vast and ancient, a presence, not quite a voice, but a thought brushing against his own. Awake. His eyes flew open. He stumbled back, gasping, "Okay, nope. That's new. That's definitely new." The guardian groaned again. louder this time, its head tilted upward, scanning the sky. The light in its chest pulsed faster, like a heartbeat. Ready to race, aliens screamed. Soldiers raised weapons. The queen shouted for order. But no one could ignore the truth anymore. The guardian was waking. Daniel leaned against the metal, his voice shaking but steady. Guess it's official. I'm in way over my head. The guardian's eyes flared like suns. The runes trembled as dust poured down from the ancient walls. And for the first time in over 1,000 years, the machine took a step forward. The ground cracked under its weight. Shockwaves rippled through the desert, and the galaxy felt the tremor of something far greater than war. The silent god was silent no more. The guardian's first steps shook the desert for miles. Cities lit signal fires. Priests sang louder than ever, and alien nobles whispered in fear. For 1,358 years, it had been silent. Now, because of a single human mechanic, it had begun to walk. Inside the palace, Daniel sat at a long table surrounded by the queen and her council. He was tired. His hands black with grease, his shirt scorched from sparks. He didn't look like a savior, he looked like a man who had spent too many nights fixing an engine that refused to cooperate. But the council stared at him like he was either a god or a curse. One noble slammed his claw against the table. This is dangerous. The guardian should belong to us, not a human stranger. Another hissed. The prophecy spoke of an outsider. But who is to say this man is the one? Perhaps he is a trick, a false pilot. Daniel raised his hands. Hey, relax. I'm not trying to steal your giant robot god. I'm just trying to stop it from stepping on me. The nobles erupted into angry clicks, but the queen silenced them with a single look. Her golden eyes locked on Daniel. You still do not understand why you are here, she said. Her voice was calm, but heavy. Daniel frowned. Yeah, no kidding. I was dragged into this mess after touching the wrong piece of metal. The queen leaned closer. No, you were pulled here long before. The guardian cannot be woken by us. It was built with a design beyond our kind. For centuries we searched. For centuries we failed. But the prophecy was clear. The hands of another world shall awaken the guardian. Daniel blinked. Wait. Are you telling me your giant ancient death machine was designed to only work with humans? The queen's expression did not change. Not humans, outsiders. But perhaps, yes, perhaps your blood, your mind, carries what ours does not. Daniel laughed nervously. So I'm not a mechanic anymore. I'm destiny. Great. Just what I wanted. The queen stood, her robes shimmering like fire. Do not mock what you do not understand. The guardian was built as the last defense against an ancient enemy. A force that once devoured worlds. When the war ended, it was sealed, waiting for the one who could wake it again. Now it moves, and the enemy may return. The words sank into Daniel's chest like ice. An ancient enemy, a war across worlds. He had thought he was fixing a broken machine, not unlocking a weapon of mass destruction. The council roared again. Some demanded the guardian be destroyed before it fully awakened. Others demanded Daniel be imprisoned before he grew powerful. The queen raised her hand, and silence fell. Her golden gaze swept across them. You fear him because you cannot control him. But the guardian has chosen, and choice cannot be undone. Daniel muttered under his breath. Yeah, choice, totally mine. That night, alone in his chamber, he stared out the window at the towering figure of the guardian. Its glowing chest pulsed slowly, like the breath of a sleeping giant. He rubbed his eyes, whispering, "What are you? Why me?" And then he felt it again. The same strange pressure in his mind as before. A whisper, not in words, but in thought. Something vast brushing against him. Awake, pilot? He stumbled back, his heart racing. Oh no, I don't like that word. But the guardian's burning eyes flickered faintly, as though it had heard him. The next morning, sabotage struck again. A noble who had spoken against Daniel the night before was found dead. His own guards had turned on him. Rumors spread quickly. Some said it was the guardian's curse. Others whispered that the queen herself had silenced him. Daniel felt the weight of it. This wasn't just about waking a machine anymore. It was tearing the empire apart. When he confronted the queen, she did not deny it. Her voice was steady. The Guardian is not only a weapon, it is power. Whoever commands it will command the stars. That is why they fear you. That is why they plot. And that is why I cannot let you fail. Daniel stared at her, frustration boiling. I didn't ask for this. I didn't come here to be some chosen pilot of destiny. I fix engines. I drink cheap beer. I'm not built for prophecy. The queen stepped closer, her golden eyes unblinking. You are not here by chance. The Guardian does not move for me. It does not move for them. It moves for you, whether you believe or not. You are already bound. Daniel turned back toward the window, his throat dry. The Guardian loomed outside, its massive frame glowing faintly against the alien sky. He muttered, "Then I guess the real question isn't if I believe, it's if I survive long enough to finish the job." And somewhere in the distance, the Guardian groaned, as though agreeing with him. The palace was no longer safe. Since the Guardian had taken its first steps, whispers spread like fire across the empire. Some called Daniel a savior. Others called him a curse. And when people argued about destiny, knives usually followed. The first attempt came during a council meeting. Daniel was sitting beside the queen, trying not to fall asleep while nobles argued about taxes and borders. Suddenly, a servant carrying a tray stumbled. The silver cup tipped, spilling dark liquid across the floor. The queen's hand shot out, grabbing Daniel before he could reach for it. Her golden eyes narrowed. "Poison," she whispered. The servant froze, eyes wide. Guards rushed forward, dragging him out. The chamber filled with angry hisses. Nobles shouted, demanding punishment. Daniel just leaned back, muttering, "Great. Can't even get a drink without someone trying to kill me." The second attempt was not so quiet. That night, Daniel worked near the Guardian's leg, running scans with alien tools he barely understood. The stars shone above, and the plaza was mostly empty. Suddenly, shadows darted between the ruins, blades flashed. Daniel ducked just as a strike cut the air above his head. "Really?" he shouted, grabbing a loose pipe from the scaffolding. "I'm working here." The attackers hissed, an alien tongue, masked and fast. They surrounded him, weapons glowing. But before they could strike, the Guardian's chest flared bright. The ground shook, and its massive hand slammed down, cracking stone. The shockwave knocked the assassins flying. Daniel stumbled back, heart racing, staring up at the towering machine. Its burning eyes flickered, almost like it was watching him. "You just saved me," he whispered, "didn't you?" The queen arrived moments later with her guards, her spear glowing. She looked at the fallen assassins, and then at Daniel, her voice low but sharp. "The Guardian protects its pilot. You are bound tighter than you realize." Daniel swallowed hard. He didn't like the word pilot, not one bit. But danger only grew worse. The nobles who opposed him grew bolder. Some spread lies in the streets, claiming Daniel was a trick. Others called him a demon in human skin. Soldiers argued in hushed voices, unsure who they would obey if war came. In the middle of it, Daniel found himself drawn closer to the queen. One evening, after yet another failed council where nobles screamed at each other, the queen walked with him through the glowing palace gardens. Strange crystal trees shimmered in the moonlight. Creatures floated like sparks in the air. "They hate me," Daniel said bluntly. "Half of them want me dead. The other half think I'm their holy ticket to victory. And none of them actually trust me." The queen's golden eyes studied him. "Fear and trust are not the same, but both can make men bow." Daniel sighed. "Yeah, well, I'd rather they didn't try to stab me in between bowing." For a moment, the queen's lips curved slightly, the closest thing to a smile. "You complain, but you still stand. That is what makes you different." Before Daniel could reply, the night exploded with fire. The palace walls shook as missiles struck. Alarms blared. Guards rushed into formation. The queen raised her spear, her voice sharp. "The warlords make their move." Daniel's chest tightened. Wait, warlords. Yes, she said, her eyes burning. Our rivals believe the Guardian must be theirs. They come to take it. The ground shook as enemy forces stormed the ruins. Alien war machines rolled through the desert, their weapons glowing. The palace, lit with fire, the Guardian stirred again, its chest flaring brighter than ever. Daniel gripped a fallen soldier's weapon, his pulse racing. He looked at the queen. You realize I'm a mechanic, not a hero, right? Her gaze was sharp, unwavering. Today, you are both. The Guardian roared. A sound like mountains breaking filled the night. Its massive body shifted, standing taller than ever before. Its burning eyes swept across the battlefield, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy remembered its fear. Daniel's grip tightened on the weapon. His heart pounded. He didn't know if he was about to die, save a world, or break the universe in half. But he knew one thing for certain. The Guardian wasn't just awake, it was ready. And so was he. The war came at dawn. Daniel woke to the sound of sirens. The palace shook under bombardment, windows cracked, the floor trembled. Outside, the desert sky blazed with fire as enemy warships poured energy beams into the city. He rushed to the balcony, his chest tightened at the sight. Dozens of armored carriers stormed across the sands, war machines taller than towers marching toward the ruins. The rival warlords had come to claim the Guardian. The queen entered, clad in black and silver armor, her crystal spear glowing with power. Her golden eyes burned with fury. They come for what is mine, she said. What is yours? Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. Yeah, about that, still not sure I signed up for this. The palace shook again. This time the Guardian stirred. Its chest pulsed bright. Its massive frame shifted as if waking fully. The ground cracked under its feet. Aliens screamed and fled in terror and awe. The queen looked at Daniel, her voice sharp. It answers only to you. The Guardian will not fight without its pilot. Daniel froze. His throat went dry. Pilot, lady, I fix engines. I don't drive them. She stepped closer, her golden eyes unblinking. Then today you learn, or we all die. Moments later, he was inside the Guardian. The chamber was vast, filled with glowing conduits and humming circuits. Strange symbols lit across the walls. His footsteps echoed. The air buzzed with energy. He placed his hand on the core panel, and once again, the burn shot through him, his mind filled with light. Awake, pilot, the voice whispered. His knees buckled. But the chamber responded. The walls shifted, revealing a view of the battlefield. He wasn't just inside it, he was linked to it. He could feel the Guardian's limbs like his own. Heavy, powerful, ready. Okay, Daniel muttered, gripping the panel. Let's see what you can do. The Guardian stepped forward. Its stride shook the earth. Enemy war machines opened fire. Energy blasts lit the sky. Daniel gritted his teeth and raised the Guardian's arm. Instinct guided him. He swung. A glowing fist smashed through the first machine, sending debris flying. The battlefield erupted. Alien soldiers scattered. Warlord banners fell. The Guardian tore through enemy ranks like a storm. Daniel laughed to spite himself. This is insane. I'm actually doing it. But inside the palace, betrayal was brewing. One of the queen's trusted generals opened the gates to the enemy. Rival soldiers poured inside, cutting down guards. The queen fought fiercely, her spear glowing as she struck enemies with precision. But her council scattered. Some fled. Others turned on her. Their voices hissed. You brought doom. You let the human control the god. Daniel's link to the Guardian jolted. Pin shot through his head. He saw flashes not just of the battlefield, but of the palace, the betrayal, the blood, the queen fighting alone. No, he growled. Not today. He turned the Guardian toward the palace. Enemy warships circled overhead, firing blasts. He raised the Guardian's arm and unleashed a shockwave of raw energy that ripped through the skies. Ships exploded. Debris rained like fire. The crowd below gasped. Some in awe, some in terror. The queen stumbled into the courtyard, her armor scorched. She looked up at the towering figure. Her golden eyes found Daniel through the burning light. For the first time, she smiled not a faint curve, but a real, fierce smile. But then the enemy's champion appeared, a war machine, almost as large as the Guardian, forged of black steel, stepped onto the battlefield. Its eyes glowed red, its weapons crackling with energy. The rival warlord's voice boomed through loudspeakers. Your human cannot save you. Today the Guardian falls. Daniel's heart pounded. Sweat dripped down his face. Oh, great boss fight, he muttered. The two giants clashed, metal against metal. Sparks and fire lit the desert. Daniel struggled to keep up. Every strike rattled his bones. Every hit sent pain shooting through the link. The Guardian wasn't just a machine, it shared the fight with him. The warlord's machine slammed the Guardian back, pinning it against a mountain of rubble. Daniel's vision blurred. His strength faltered. For a moment, he thought it was over. Then he heard the Queen's voice, faint but clear, carried through the link itself. Stand, Daniel. Do not bow. You are not just pilot, you are chosen. Something inside him sparked. He grit his teeth, roared, and forced the Guardian forward. The massive machine broke free, its fist glowing with energy. With a final strike, it smashed through the warlord's chest plate. The rival machine collapsed, exploding in fire. Silence fell over the battlefield. The enemy forces broke. Fleeing into the desert, the Queen raised her spear high, her voice carrying across the ruins. The Guardian stands, the Empire stands, the crowd roared. But Daniel slumped against the console, exhausted. His body shook. His mind burned. He whispered, I can't keep doing this. And then the Guardian's voice echoed inside him. Colder this time, you will. The battlefield was silent. Smoke rose from the desert. Wreckage burned, and alien war machines lay in pieces across the sands. The Guardian stood tall among the ruins, its glowing chest pulsing like the heartbeat of a giant. Daniel leaned against the glowing console inside the control chamber. His body ached. His mind throbbed. Every strike he had taken through the Guardian felt carved into his bones. Sweat ran down his face. But he was alive. The Queen stood below in the courtyard, her armor cracked, her golden eyes locked on the towering figure above. She raised her spear and shouted, The Guardian has chosen. The Empire endures. The crowd roared. Priests cried out in praise. Soldiers pounded their weapons against the ground. Nobles bowed their heads. Some did it in loyalty, others in fear. But all of them now knew the truth. The Guardian was no longer silent, and the human was the one who commanded it. Later, in the quiet of the Queen's chamber, Daniel sat on the floor, rubbing his sore hands. I'm not sure how long I can keep this up, he admitted. That fight almost killed me. The Queen watched him closely, her golden eyes softer than usual. And yet you won, she said. You stood when others would bow. Daniel gave a tired laugh. Yeah, but I'm just one guy with a toolbox. I don't know if I can carry all this prophecy stuff. The Queen tilted her head, her voice calm but firm. You already are. Before Daniel could reply, the palace shook again. Not from bombs, not from warlords, but from the sky. A deep thunder rolled through the air. The Queen froze, her eyes narrowing. She walked to the balcony, and Daniel followed. What they saw stole the breath from his lungs. The sky above was filled with ships, sleek, massive, cutting through the clouds in perfect formation. Their hulls gleamed with the blue and white insignia of Earth. Daniel's heart stopped. His throat went dry. He knew those ships. He knew the design of their cannons, the glow of their engines. The Earth fleet had arrived. The aliens below panicked. Soldiers shouted. Civilians pointed to the sky. Priests wailed that a new invasion had begun. The Queen gripped her spear tightly, her golden eyes burning. More enemies, she whispered. Daniel's chest twisted. No, he said softly. They're mine. The Queen turned to him slowly, suspicion and something colder in her eyes. Yours? Daniel nodded weakly. His voice cracked. That's my fleet. My people, they came for me. The Guardian stirred, its burning eyes flashing as if it, too, had recognized the approaching threat. The ground trembled under its feet, its massive head tilted toward the sky. Watching the human warships, Daniel's thoughts spun. For months he had dreamed of this moment's rescue, escape, a way home. But now, standing on the balcony beside the Queen, with the Guardian looming behind him, he felt something different. If he went with the fleet, Earth would see him as a hero, the man who awakened the greatest weapon in the galaxy. But if he left, the Queen's empire would collapse, the Guardian might fall into enemy hands, and the warlords would return. The Queen's voice broke through his thoughts, calm but sharp. Now you must choose. Will you remain here, or will you abandon me? Her words cut deep. Her golden eyes held his, no longer only a ruler's gaze, but something more, something human beneath the armor. Daniel gripped the railing, his heart pounding. His mind screamed at him to choose, but his chest refused. He fell torn into between the world he came from and the one he had stumbled into. The Guardian groaned, its voice echoing faintly inside his mind. Pilot, stay. The fleet above lit their cannons. Beams of light cut through the clouds, casting sharp shadows across the desert. The alien soldiers below raised weapons, preparing for another war. The Queen stepped closer, her voice low, almost trembling. Do you still stand with me, human? Daniel looked at her, then at the fleet, then at the towering machine behind him. His throat was dry, his mind spinning. He whispered, "What have I done?" The sky roared as Earth's warships descended, and the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath.